staff of the Coca-Cola Bottling Company Limited in Ghana embarked on a protest at the premises of the company over the alleged dismissal of their colleagues. They say management did not follow due process in laying off their colleagues. Now, last year, if you remember, management of Coca-Cola served notice of its intention to lay off workers due to challenges worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic. The General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Solomon Kote, was there to solidarize with the workers. He joins me via Zoom to discuss this further. Thanks for your time tonight, sir. What triggered the latest protests? Mr. Kote, I would love for you to unmute. We cannot hear you. Okay, we are still having issues hearing Mr. Kote. They will try and resolve that and get an update on the situation with the Coca-Cola workers. Is it getting any better, or do we move on? Okay, let's turn to the cedi, which has lost 0.25% in value to the dollar with just 11 days into the year. Usually, the local currency goes through immense pressure in the first quarter of every year. Though last year was an exception, the central bank has allotted almost $50 million per auction every 2 weeks to boost liquidity, according to its auction calendar for Forex Forward auction. This means a total of $300 million will be sold to banks and other businesses for onward transactions in the first quarter of this year. I'm told we can go back to Solomon Kote, who is the General Secretary of ICU, on the situation with Coca-Cola workers. So my question was, what was the trigger for today's protest?
Well, there had been some disturbance last week where the ICU reported to the Labour Commission that the management of Coca-Cola have done lockout, which we think they have not followed due process. The Commission then writes and orders that the status quo should be retained and all should cease any form of action, so we should go back. The workers then report to work this morning and they were refused entry. And other colleagues also joined them to say, if you not allow the 30 people who are earmarked on the redundancy to enter, then we too will not enter. In the process of it, the National Union was notified and then we rushed to the place. Fortunately, in the presence of the police, we were able to get back to management, and both parties have agreed that we should all restrain ourselves until the 13th of January 2021. We go to a Labour Commission for further adjudication on the matter.
Okay, so we are told that with the latest dismissal, we are talking about 30 workers. If you can confirm that for me. And I know that Coca-Cola has been doing this for a while. How many workers so far have been laid off? And I'm hearing from some of them who say benefits that were due them or that are due them have not been paid.
No, the issue is that from the beginning of 2020, management said they wanted to lay off 90 workers. But thankfully, the law requires that if you show the numbers, you must give reasons why you want to get it done. And those reasons must be acceptable by both parties. Fortunately, getting to October, they came down to say they are reducing from 90 to 30. This we oblige because redundancy is a right of the employer under the law. Now, we've gone through due process. We are just about concluding where minutes of various meetings held on this particular subject have not been previewed and signed, and then MOU that to put the seal on the entire redundancy have also not been signed, but to a large extent we reached agreement. Then on the 31st of December, management went ahead and issued the termination letters. And strangely, for the first time in the history of termination letter, an employer writes to tell the employee that I know I have not concluded discussion on the subject and I have not also signed any MOU, but your termination is taking immediate effect. So to us as a national union, this is strange. We have never met it, and we want to also have the commission to help us to see that in the ambit of the law, this is rightful or wrongful. So with all the approach from the national union to say, if we can clear those numbers, we don't have issues, and look at the limited number that we have issues, management say we didn't bad. So this is where we find ourselves as of today, hoping that tomorrow there will be no agitation at the workplace, because we've advised the workers accordingly that once the matter is before the commission, we should all cease any agitation and ensure that the commission take charge of the matter.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll see how discussions go in the future and hopefully speak with you. Hopefully we'll have some good news. That was Solomon Kote. He is the General Secretary of the ICU.